What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Off the Grid, the All Power Rangers podcast. I am your host, Jacob Bartley, and we are here to talk Power Rangers today. Thank you all for joining my second episode back after the long break of not doing this show, but we are back in action, if you will, and I am ready to go. So let's go right off the top. I'm doing pretty well. I'm excited right now, just in general about life, but also about Power Ranger stuff. I just finished Power Rangers Lost Galaxy today, earlier this morning, so we're going to talk about that later. I read Go Power Rangers number 17, I believe it is. Yeah, number 17. I am excited for Beast Morphers. I believe it premieres next weekend, so we'll be talking about that on the show, on the channel as well. So yeah, a bunch of stuff. Usually I have like a new collectible to share that I recently bought, but since we had the long break, like I talked about, and I haven't had the chance to show everything, I forgot about showing this last week, this Rita pop figure, which I adore. I love my Power Ranger villains. I don't think they get enough love and enough praise as the heroes do, and kind of like how last week I was so excited about the Lightning Collection having Lord Zed in it. So excited about that. I was very excited to see this pop figure of Rita. They also have a Zed and a Goldar one, but had to get Rita, the original Power Rangers villain. So pretty cool. I'm going to let Rita hang out today. I might have a collectible hang out each day when I do this show. So yeah, like I said, today we're going to get into some news. We're going to talk about Power Rangers Lost Galaxy and what I think about that. We're going to talk about Go Power Rangers number 17, and that should be the show. So let's get into it. So let's get into the Ranger news segment of the show. Now, one big thing that dropped this past week is a new trailer for Power Rangers Beast Morphers. I did watch it. I realized I should have done a trailer reaction to it. I didn't even think about it until after I watched it. So I might try to start doing trailer reactions for new TV trailers and stuff like that, or any future movie trailers or anything like that. I'll try to do a trailer reaction if I can. But I liked the trailer. Like, it wasn't anything crazy, and I think most Power Ranger fans understand and accept that these shows are made for a very low budget, and we know that, and we understand that there's not always the greatest acting in the shows, that there's not always the greatest special effects, so on and so forth. So I watch every Power Rangers season, every trailer for a Power Rangers TV show, knowing that. So knowing that, watching this trailer, I liked it. I'm interested, like the look. I'm curious to see how the actors come play on screen, because you can't really get much from the trailer. But one thing that always matters to me is the actors portraying the characters in the show. Even though they may not be the greatest actors, even though they aren't, you know, people that I've known before for the most part, they always have to be charismatic and fit that character. And I'm curious to see how these actors fit these characters. But for me, like, I just love good fits or just charming people to watch on screen. So curious to see about that. But nothing special here in this trailer, but I will say that, you know, it didn't lower or heighten my excitement for Beast Morphers. I just thought it was pretty good. So that's that. Curious to know what you guys think. Did you guys love the trailer? Do you hate it, maybe? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Awesome. So some other news coming out recently in this past week was some comic book news, which I'm so excited to talk about. The comics are just the best thing going on in Power Rangers right now. They are just so mature and so evolved, and just honestly the thing that I'm most excited about going on in Power Rangers right now are the comics. So Boom Studios announced that they're having a new storyline start with Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue number 40, and it's going to be called Necessary Evil. And one of the main events that it's going to cover is the introduction of the White Power Ranger, who has not appeared in the comics directly yet. We've seen Saba, we've seen the Sword, we've seen, you know, Lord Draken is kind of an amalgamation of the Green and the White Ranger, so we've seen that. So they're actually going to cover the White Ranger coming into play here. I'm really curious because right now we're on Beyond the Grid, where we have that Rogue Ranger team kind of formed and going on this mission. I thought that was going to last a lot longer because the Shattered Grid storyline technically took place from issues 1 to 30. Is it 1 to 29 or 1 to 30? Either way, that was 30 issues for Shattered Grid. Beyond the Grid only has 10 issues, or 9, whatever the case may be. It's kind of unfortunate, but I will say I haven't loved Beyond the Grid. I like it, and I like it. There's been interesting things. I just don't know where it's going. I've said this before. I don't know what to expect from it, so I don't know. I like it, don't love it. Definitely not as exciting as Shattered Grid. But this Necessary Evil, I don't know what it's going to be about, but we do know it's introducing the White Ranger. They put out a cover for it with the White Ranger on it. So I'm super excited about that. I love me, the White Ranger, even though it means losing the Green Ranger, but I've said before, I think they're going to find a way around that. And also, this is going to be going on in the Mighty Morphin line, not in the Go-Go line. So that's interesting here. But anyways, there was, so basically they're going to have a new writer on this, taking over for the previous writer. But it's somebody we know, Ryan Parrot, the writer of Go-Go, is going to take over Mighty Morphin. He's going to be writing them both simultaneously, which is kind of cool because I loved the connections between Go-Go and Mighty Morphin during the Shattered Grid storyline. So if you have one writer working on this and just connecting it all, I think that's great. So I'm super excited about that. So there were some quotes put out by Ryan and the artist Danielle and the producer Daphne Peeben, I believe. So I chose some of the lines from some of their quotes about this upcoming Necessary Evil storyline. So this is what Ryan Parrott, the writer of Go-Go and now Mighty Morphin starting with issue 40, had to say. I'm writing Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I'm not going to lie, Kyle Higgins set the bar unapologetically high with his work on the series so far, not to mention the biggest Power Ranger comic book event ever in Shattered Grid. But I'm looking forward to digging deep into these characters we all love and building off the stage that's been set. May the power protect me. I love that he put that little line at the end because that's the Power Ranger version of May the Force be with you or whatever, and it's kind of like a sign-off thing, gesture that fans should be saying more, in my opinion. So I love that he included that. He sounds excited. I wouldn't have minded the current writer of Beyond the Grid taking this on for another 30 issues, but I'm gotta say, I love Go-Go right now, and I think this is great news that Ryan's taking over for sure. And then the artist Danielle De Nicolo, this is what she had to say about working on the upcoming Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. If with Shattered Grid we went big, now we're going deep, straight to the core of what means to be Power Rangers, and most of all, what consequences come from choices made for a greater good. Alright, so that's giving us a little bit of insight into the scope and what it possibly could be about. Obviously, we don't know exact details, but she said we're going deep. We're going to go, I'm assuming we're going deep into some Morphing Grid stuff. I think we're going to go back to some of the original Rangers. We're going to go, somehow the White Ranger has to come into play. Now, does he show up in the Beyond the Grid timeline? Or do we go back to after Shattered Grid or back to the Mighty Morphin Go-Go timeline and they introduce the White Ranger there? We don't know. I could see him maybe showing up, so that version of Tommy showing up in the Beyond the Grid storyline, and then he joins that team and then they go forward from there, or they go back in time after these Rangers have resolved something. We'll see what happens. There's so much they could do, but I'm glad that her comments excite me very, very much. And then also the senior editor, Daphne Peeben, had this to say. The first appearance of the White Ranger is only one of the big revelations in Necessary Evil, as we learn just what happened after the Mighty Morphin team disappeared after the events of Shattered Grid. Ryan and Danielle, along with our partners at Hasbro, have crafted a Power Rangers epic with surprises around every turn and an ending that changes everything. Now, obviously, when there's like a press release and creators are talking about the property that they're creating, there's a little bit of bias there. So they're talking in epic means, saying that, oh my goodness, this is going to be the best thing ever. So we got to take this all with a grain of salt. But I love what I'm hearing. So the White Ranger is not going to be the only big thing happening in this Necessary Evil storyline. We also are going to get other things, and we're also going to find out what happened to the Mighty Morphin team after Shattered Grid. So I kind of answered my own question there. Like, they're probably going to go back to what happens after Shattered Grid, because with this team, with the other characters not involved in Beyond the Grid, because for me, I loved Shattered Grid so much, but the ending was just kind of out of nowhere, like abrupt, and just like was weird. And I liked that Draken won. It was unexpected, but it was just weird, and I didn't understand it completely. So I love that we're going to go back and kind of go over what exactly happened. I think that's really big. And of course, we get the White Ranger, and we get the White Tiger Zord, which is freaking amazing. My favorite animal is a White Tiger, just in real life, and that's why I love the White Ranger so much. So that'll be cool to see on the page. I'm looking forward to it. Let me know what you guys think. Do you love this news? Are you excited about this? Are you disappointed that Beyond the Grid seems to be coming to an end in about 4 or 5 issues? Is that upsetting to you? I want to know your thoughts. What do you think we're going to get in Necessary Evil? Let me know in the comment section. I would love to hear your thoughts. Alrighty, so now we're going to talk some TV. I think the last season I reviewed was Zeo. But I'm just finished Lost Galaxy, so I'm going to pick up with Lost Galaxy. But I will give some thoughts on things after Zeo. I mean, obviously Turbo was after Zeo and In Space. So I really did not like Power Rangers Turbo. It's just a bad season. To be sorry for those who love it. And I know consensus-wise, a lot of people don't like it. But I just didn't like it, along with just like the Power Rangers Turbo movie. There's things in it, there's things in them that I love, but I didn't like it. Yeah, probably Mighty Morphin Power Rangers like season 3 is probably the worst season up to this point that I've seen. But Turbo's right there with it. Terrible. However, I like the characters that they introduce at the end of Power Rangers Turbo, or in Power Rangers Turbo, who become the Turbo Rangers and then go on to In Space. In Space is absolutely incredible. Now, my favorite season of Power Rangers is season 1. Season 2 is great too, but I love season 1. But honestly, the best season of Power Rangers is probably In Space. And I think a lot of people think that. Now here's the thing. I've told people who watched the show before, as a kid, I only watched up to Lightspeed Rescue. I finally realized that. Because I've never seen Time Force. So I have only seen everything up to the end of Lost Galaxy. So based on all those seasons, Mighty Morphin season 1 is my favorite. In Space is the best. And it's just epically incredible. I could go into a whole 30-minute episode of why I think In Space is the best. But I'll just say Andros is great. The suits look great. Just everything about it is great. The setting. Astronema is top 2 or 3 villain for me. Top 2 or 3 villain. I love Astronema, and of course the Corone character and everything like that. Love Power Rangers In Space. It's a treasure. For me, it's Mighty Morphin season 1, Zeo, and In Space, just treasures. All 3 of those seasons, just treasures. Now, Then from In Space, we go into Lost Galaxy. I like Lost Galaxy. I like it. I like it quite a bit. Actually, more than quite a bit. It's pretty good. Nowhere near as bad as Turbo in season 3, but nowhere near as good as In Space. But definitely some highlights. I like the cast a lot. I grew with them a lot. Especially Leo and Mike and Kendricks and all of them. But I really love the Leo and Mike dynamic, and I love the Magna Defender and how that came about, because first of all, one thing I want to talk about is Kendricks. We're going to talk about Kendricks in a second. But leading into Kendricks, the first episode, I believe, or early on in the season, first or second episode, we think that Mike died, and then the Magna Defender shows up, and we find out that the Magna Defender saved him, and then Mike becomes the Magna Defender. Awesome. I love brother relationships in anything, in movies and storytelling, in TV shows, because I have brothers, so I can relate a lot. So I love that dynamic between them. That kind of got the feels when Mike came back. I love the idea of Terra Venture and how they're just a floating space city. It's kind of cheesy, like a lot of stuff in Power Rangers, though, when like they keep having these monster attacks on a space station, and it just like huge giant monsters getting blown up, just like they did in the cities in the previous seasons, and it's just like the ship's fine. Like, it's just crazy to me. And I enjoyed some things. Like, I didn't love the villains. Is it Scorpio or Scorpius? And then Trakina I liked, kind of. I mean, she's whatever. I mean, it was funny because I like how they take time on the villains. Like, there's a sequence, montage or whatever, where she's training and she wants to become worthy, but she doesn't want to become an insect and all that stuff. I appreciate that they took the time. She's not a terrible villain, but I didn't necessarily love her, like an astronomer or something like that. But the thing for me is the cast of the Rangers, their dynamic between one another, especially the Mike and Leo relationship. I think the suits look cool, especially the Magna Defender. So it was an interesting season. But the one thing that got like just is I'm always going to remember the season for is Kendricks and the character's death. Now, if you've seen the season, I'm sorry if you haven't, because I've been talking a bunch of spoilers. We know that Kendricks comes back at the end. But for me, I remembered this from when I was a kid. I started to like think about it. I was like, wait a minute. Because after Mike died, I was like, didn't they kill a Power Ranger before? But obviously Mike came back like not too long after that. So that was like, and he didn't actually die. He never died. He was saved, and the Magna Defender like took his spirit or whatever, and then Mike came back. So Mike never actually died fully. Kendricks died. And whatever, she went into the morphing grid. Whatever happened, she actually died. The characters felt her death, and she was no longer there. Now you could say, oh, who cares, she came back. But no, I have this argument with people, like with other things I'm not going to get into. But I was going to mention Infinity War. Same concept here, right? So, like, Kendricks actually died. And those characters had to live with it. We had to live with it as an audience. As a kid, you're watching this and not up in... Well, Mike, it kind of happened with Mike, but that was short-lived. But you actually, as a kid, you're watching this and Kendricks dies. I remember that as a kid. And that just goes to show how much an impact it had. Because I remember visually, I remember what the planet looked like. I knew it was the Pink Ranger. I knew she was blonde. Like, I remembered all that stuff from when I was like 8 years old. And I just think it's just a crazy incident within all of Power Rangers, like actually killing Kendricks. And the behind the scenes reason why they did it is because the actress got sick, and I think she had to go get some treatment, and she couldn't, stay on set to shoot and everything like that. So they wrote her, they killed her character, and then her spirit kind of lives on. It's Power Rangers takes so much from Star Wars, and like we've heard this, that the creators were inspired by Star Wars, and may the power protect you, may the force be with you, all these things. There's the morphing grid, the force, very similar connections here, and I don't mind that. You know, stories influence other stories. It's been going on for centuries, but I think that's so cool, just how they actually, in a kid's show, they killed a character, had you feel it, the cast feel it, had her like spirit around. And then, first of all, well, that around that time is, it all happened while this in Space Rangers were there, which was so cool. I had no idea they came back for this season, so that was really cool. And then seeing Corone come back and having Corone become the Pink Ranger was just awesome. Like I told you, I love Astronema. I love her and Andros' relationship, and how she goes back to being Corone in Space season. And even though it was due to unfortunate circumstances with the actress who plays Kendricks getting sick, I love that we got to see Corone back in this season to be a Power Ranger and kind of fully redeem herself. Like, she's somewhat redeemed at the end of In Space, but she fully redeemed herself, risked her life several times, ended up helping save Terra Venture and lead to this new world in Lost Galaxy. So just, I really did enjoy this season. It's going on the positive side. It gets a thumbs up from me. If we're comparing seasons, I'm giving Lost Galaxy a positive. And now on to Lightspeed Rescue. I already watched the first season. I don't know how I feel about it yet, but I've only watched 2 episodes, so we'll see about that. But yeah, I'm gonna be watching Beast Morphers starting next week. So I'm gonna be watching whatever season I'm on, like Lightspeed Rescue. Gonna be continuously watching that, and then review it when I'm done. And then I'm gonna be reviewing Beast Morphers week by week. All right, so let's get into some comic talk here. So the most recent issue to come out, and the most recent one that I read, is Go-Go Power Rangers number 17. And this was an interesting issue. This is why I love the comics, because they add depth to this mythology. Like, things that were like briefly ran over in the series, they can dive deep in the comics, and that's why I love it. So this opens up, and we have this woman with her infant, and we find out this is Rita. So Rita's mother, Fianna, however you pronounce it, is holding Rita, and she's some type of magical being, like a witch, because Rita's like a witch or sorceress, whatever. It looks like her mother is too. And Zordon knew her. Zordon was there when Rita was an infant, which is really cool. It's just interesting, like, so was Zordon like an uncle to her? And then all these events unfold where she goes to become this evil queen and he's fighting her for centuries. Like, that's interesting. And then, so at first I was like, wait, is Zordon her dad? No. But the thing is, like, the comics do a fantastic job of, like, keeping as much to the series, as true to the series as possible. So in the comics, Fianna says, we got to protect her or whatever before her father finds out. So I'm assuming her father is still Master Vile, which we're probably going to get Master Vile in the comics eventually, which I think that would be really cool. I kind of want them to, like, adapt his look a little bit, make him look a little bit more monstery. I think that would be really cool. So that was interesting. Going on, we have the Trini and Jason flirtation continuing in the gym, and Kimberly kind of overhears them flirting, and I love this. Like, I don't like romance that much in my superhero comic books, movies, stuff like that. But I like the Trini and Jason dynamic. It makes sense and it feels natural. Like I said, it doesn't feel forced. I've said that plenty of times. And then during last couple issues, we had some type of being watching over the Rangers, like sending in papers for them when they've been missing classes and stuff like that. And we came to find out that it's a character known as Alpha 1, so like a bigger version of Alpha who can actually fight and do, I don't know if he's doing magical things, but he has a lot of technology with him. And I'm curious to see what happens with that. That's kind of cool. Like, I know it's like, I love Alpha 5, but they've been doing all these they've been introducing different versions of Alpha, and I'm curious to see like what's the difference between Alpha 1 and Alpha 5? Why is an Alpha 1 like combat ready and Alpha 5 is not? So maybe we'll get into that, maybe with this character, but that's interesting. So we find out that that's who's been looking after the Rangers. Now we find out also in this issue that Rita's having trouble unlocking the green power coin, so she's going on a mission to do that. And then Rita summons somebody to help her, and that's her mother, who shows up at the end. Really like this issue. Again, Go-Go is the comic that I'm more excited about right now. That will probably soon change with Necessary Evil. But I dug this issue. I thought it was a good issue, good continuation. Man, I know it's not anyone's fault, but these issues end so shortly. Like, I like just take in every page, because I know, man, in like 2 minutes I'm going to be done with this, and then I'm going to have to wait like a month before the next one. But it's okay. We still get them, so that's totally fine. All right, well, yeah, I want to hear what you guys think of Go-Go Power Rangers number 17. Let me know in the comment section. Also, let me know what you think about the new trailer for Beast Morphers, the news about Necessary Evil and their comments, and what do you agree with me on Lost Galaxy? Do you think it's a good season? Do you think it's a bad season? Let me know your thoughts, and also let me know your thoughts on Power Rangers, Go-Go Power Rangers number 17. Thank you all for watching this episode of Off the Grid. Again, I am Jacob Bartley. I will see you guys next week, and I believe Beast Morphers premieres this upcoming weekend, and I will be talking Beast Morphers episode 1 on the next episode, as long as I'm right about that. All right, thanks again for watching. Until next time, may the power